news on baseball.
At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi. Learn about Citi perks at Mets.com/Citi. By Cadillac. Visit CadillacTristate.com for exceptional offers. By the State Farm agent of the game, John Garfinkel of Brooklyn. Contact John at JohnGarfinkel.com. And by Spectrum. Hey, Mets fans, join America's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice provider. Get the Spectrum Triple Play today. Citi Field, the home of a home run hitting team. Yeah, 52, he hits home runs, but so does 19, and he was out in force last night. Jay Bruce was the hero of the night. Couple of home runs, 5 RBIs to lead the Mets to a victory, and he gets a brand new challenge today. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play the rubber game of their 3-game series against the Phillies. The Mets won a game last night, but they lost a couple of players. Lucas Duda is out. Wilmer Flores is out. Travis d'Arnaud might be out. But with the first baseman all down, that means Jay Bruce, who has really exploded with his bat over the first 3 weeks of the season, will play just his 4th career game at first base.
And the last 3 times he started for the Cincinnati Reds was all the way back in 2014. You got to really appreciate that Bruce is going to be a gamer and go to first base, especially as hot and as locked in as he is in that cleanup position. But it's a position he said today that he is going to sandlot it. He's just going to block it, try to keep it in front of him, and get it out.
Well, the other coming and going today of note is that Jeurys Familia has been taken off the suspended list. Jeurys is available tonight, and Terry Collins, who earlier in the week was talking about easing him in, says he's probably in the 9th inning tonight.
Yeah, it looks like they might not have Addison Reed. 94 saves over the last 2 years. Don't let us kid ourselves. He's the most important part of that bullpen, and the way things have really broke the first 2 weeks, they really need him.
Well, in a perfect world, the starter tonight would hand it right to Jeurys Familia for the save opportunity, and maybe that'll happen with Noah Syndergaard pitching tonight.
Well, I don't think you can ask too much more of Noah in this first 3 starts of the season. No walks, 20 strikeouts. He's been locked in with all 3 or maybe 4 of his pitches. It should continue tonight.
Blister problems, fingernail problems, but as far as pitching, no problems at all for Noah so far this year. Aaron Nola makes the start for the Phillies. Mets only seeing him for the 2nd time.
Well, they expect big things from Aaron. He was the 7th pick in the 2014 draft, the 4th pitcher in that first 7 picks. And he has not really lived up to his promise. He was good early in his career, but he's come back a little bit, just like their starter in the first game, Eflin. But he was 23. Last night's starter was 24. He's 23. It's young for the starting pitchers for Philadelphia.
Mets have won 15 of their last 17 series from the Phillies. They try and get another notch tonight. It's the Mets and Phils, all the action coming your way tonight on SNY. Position for Jay Bruce tonight. Just a few strides out of the first base dugout. Exchanging smiles with Sam Holbrook, the first base umpire, as he gets ready for his first game as a Met at first base. He's having fun with that. I'll give him that.
That was a real New York moment. What do you want from me? They put me at first base.
Here's the Hyundai starting lineup for the Phillies. Andrew Knapp, the catcher from Cal Berkeley, will get a start. Aaron Altair, a late addition to the lineup. Michael Saunders came up ill tonight, and so Altair is in there in the middle of the lineup as the Phillies face Noah Syndergaard, whom they've never beaten.
Here's the Mets defense. Rivera, personal catcher of Syndergaard. Jay Bruce's fourth start at first base. Neil Walker, of course, up the middle with Asdrubal Cabrera. Jose Reyes, who had a couple nervous kind of plays at third base in last night's ball game. Cespedes. And interestingly enough, with Granderson in the lineup, Conforto gets a start in center field with Granderson in right.
Mets are a little shorthanded tonight. Wilmer Flores had to go to the hospital. He's had an infection in his knee the last couple of days, and he is out for at least a day or two. Lucas Duda hyperextended his elbow last night. He's out for a day or two. And Travis d'Arnaud might be available after bruising his wrist last night. Kevin Plawecki has been called up from AAA.
Those are the Land Rover numbers for this year. I'll give you a Land Rover number for his career. Almost half of his starts, 28 out of 57, have been one earned run or less when Syndergaard takes the hill. It's pretty amazing.
Cesar Hernandez leads off, had an 11-game hitting streak stopped last night. Syndergaard's first pitch of the night is fouled away, and we're underway. Hernandez 2 for 11 in this series, went 0 for 5 last night, but he was also involved in both the injuries that the Mets suffered during the game. Hit the ground ball up the first baseline that led to Duda getting hurt, and then stole second, which led to d'Arnaud's hand hitting the bat of Aaron Altair. That's how Travis got hurt.
You know, the one thing that the Mets pitchers have done well in this series against Hernandez is the fastball upstairs. He's got a little bit of an uppercut. They've attacked there.
Comes inside at 100 miles an hour. We didn't see many hundreds from Syndergaard in his last start in Miami. He was a little shorter with his fastball. Still made his way through 6 innings, only 1 earned run before coming out with a torn fingernail. He has seen the nail specialist since then. And he pops the fastball at 99 to strike out Hernandez for the first out of the night.
You know, he just can't catch up to that ball upstairs with that slight uppercut. Last year he did a better job of laying off these pitches, but in this series he's been swinging at them.
18 strikeouts already for Hernandez in his first 64 at bats. So 1 out and nobody on. That's 21 strikeouts without a walk for Syndergaard. That's the most strikeouts any Mets pitcher has ever had at the start of the season before his first walk. There's Daniel Nava playing left field tonight, 1 for 6 in this series. And that fastball in for a strike, and Syndergaard throwing very hard in this first inning.
Yes, he is. Nava was very comfortable in his at-bats in this series, kind of hitting the ball up the middle or the other way. That's been his approach. Defense straight up in the outfield.
And that fastball on the inside edge, and Syndergaard's yet to throw a ball. 0-2 to Nava. On the way, just to take Syndergaard's stretch a little back, a little further to the end of last year. 25 1/3 innings since his last walk. 29 strikeouts over that span. 0-2 coming. Swing and a miss. Got him with a changeup. And Syndergaard with back-to-back strikeouts to start his night.
Well, it's just a great sequence. He made the left-handed hitter Nava so conscious of that fastball inside, and then he counters with that beautiful grip on the changeup down and away with movement. Grips that with the seams, Gary. That's so different than we've seen from Glavine and others that went across the seams. He's with the seams. Maybe why he gets all that movement.
There's Odubel Herrera, 3 for 8 in this series, including a home run. The Mets have dominated the Phillies over the last few years, and Noah's been a part of that. 4 career starts against the Phillies, 4-0 with a 1.37 ERA. And Herrera just 1 for 12 against Syndergaard. And he still has yet to throw ball 1.
Well,
9 pitches, 9 strikes.
He's thrown that two-seamer right on the inside corner and ends up right down the middle. But the hitters can't pull the trigger.
Two. He fouls it away. Well, since the start of 2015, the Mets have completely dominated the Phillies. Look at the home run numbers. Better than 2-1. Mets have won 15 of the last 17 series.
We've seen a lot of the Mets hitters have gotten pretty fat on Phillies pitching.
10 pitches, 10 strikes for Syndergaard. And Herrera just got a piece of the changeup.
Rivera now in his starts, he's taken 4 or 5 balls off the back of the glove hand. Very painful.
He and Noah have gotten into quite the rhythm, haven't they?
That's an interesting sign for Rivera. 4 on the chest protector.
And there's the first pitch out of the strike zone for Syndergaard at 100 miles an hour inside. We talked about the two-seamer that he's throwing. He's had the problem with that middle finger with the blister and the nail, and you wonder whether that grip that he's using is having any impact on that, and whether he might have to alter it somewhat to be able to get deeper into games.
Well, Gary, just by its very nature, the two-seamer brings no seams into play, and that might make it a lot easier on your hands. When you're doing the four-seamer, the ball will always come off that fingernail, off that seam at the very end.
So the 100-mile-an-hour Spectrum high-speed pitch for Syndergaard. Herrera continues to take his sweet time getting back into the batter's box.
Noah doesn't care. He just stands there. Are you ready? Okay, here it comes.
1-2. Curveball, got him looking. Side retired. Noah Syndergaard strikes out the side in the opening inning. Spectacular beginning for Noah's night. Again in the leadoff spot, Michael Conforto gets the start, batting 6th in center field. Noah Syndergaard will bat 8th with Rene Rivera hitting 9th. See the bench. Mets have 5 bench players, but maybe only 2 of them available. Lagares and Plawecki.
Well, I said before, the Toyota numbers for Aaron Nola so far. Last year he was shut down with a right elbow strain. Would put him on the disabled list in August. But he is supposed to be one of their top line guys. He's supposed to be a number 1 or number 2.
Granderson 0 for 5 in this series, hitless in his last 11 at bats, and they play the full shift with the triangle against Curtis. And a first pitch fastball for a strike. Granderson at 157 for the year as the Mets try and find somebody to produce in that leadoff spot. Curtis went 0 for 4 last night. And Nola misses high 1-1. Aaron Nola first came up in 2015, had instant success. Made 13 starts that year, 6-2, 3.59. Looked like he was on his way, but last year was definitely a step backward for him. In the air to center field, chasing Herrera back a few strides. And Granderson retired, 1 away.
The defense for the Phillies this evening had a late change. Coors Light defense. Daniel Nava left field, Herrera in center, Altair replacing Michael Saunders, Franco Galvis, Hernandez, and Tommy Joseph, same infield that they've had this entire series, but a new catcher, Andrew Knapp behind the plate, Cal Berkeley.
Aaron Nola, who played his college baseball with LSU, playing with his older brother, Austin, who is now a catcher in the Marlins organization. He's in Double-A. Here's Cabrera, 1 for 7 in the series. And as Struble takes outside, it's always harder when the younger brother outperforms the older brother.
Yeah, right. I was trying to think, my younger brother got drafted before I got drafted, but hurt his knee.
Change up off the plate, 2-0.
The thing about when you watch Nola, he's a guy that really relies on movement. You know, he's got a long arm action, 3/4, sinks it, and pretty good breaking ball and changeup. Getting inside in the lefties is always going to be his Achilles heel because of the arm action.
Seventh overall pick in that 2014 draft. 3 picks before Michael Conforto. Oh, a perfect name for a guy from Louisiana. Except he's from Baton Rouge, not New Orleans.
Right. The Red Stick.
Curveball drops in for a strike, and it's 2-2 to Cabrera.
Yeah, there were, I said, 3 other pitchers taken before him in that draft. A couple of them have had great success. Cespedes on deck. Carlos Rodon for the Chicago White Sox has made 51 starts. And Brandon Finnegan, 38 starts with KC and the Reds.
Curveball bounced to second. Hernandez time to back off for the hop and gets Cabrera 2 out. Now it's Cespedes with 2 out and nobody on. See the 6 home runs, the 10 RBIs. Look at the on-base percentage. The reason for that, you know, we talked a lot in spring training about Cespedes trying to become more and more selective. He set a career high for walks last year with 51, which is not a ton, but it was his career high. Yeah. He's already walked 10 times in the first 3 weeks of the season, so he's at a much faster walk rate this year.
I think teams came into the season saying that we are not going to let Cespedes beat us. That's why he's got a lot of walks. But if Jay Bruce stays as red hot as he is, he's going to get pitches to hit.
And Ola comes inside, a ball and a strike. Dan Iasonia calling the balls and strikes tonight. And there's Bruce, who drove in all 5 net runs last night with a pair of home runs, waiting on deck.
You're going to start a guy at first base for the 4th time in his career. What better game than when Syndergaard's pitching?
If he strikes out everybody, it won't matter. 1-2. It is interesting, though, when you think about the way the game is developing. Infield defense is becoming less and less important. Right? Everybody's trying to hit the ball in the air. You've got more strikeouts in the game than ever. You have fewer and fewer plays for the infielders. Nola ahead on Cespedes, 1-2. And Yoenis fouls it away. Mets saw Nola September of 2015, and they raked him for 6 runs in 4 innings. It's the only time the Mets have faced him. He made 20 starts last year, and you would figure division opponent you would face him a few times, but the Mets never saw Nola last year. Saw plenty of Jared Eichhoff. What did he make? 6 starts against the Mets last year? Just the way the rotation fell. Last year 6-9 with a 4.78. A big step back from his cameo in 2015. And the curveball, and Cespedes got a piece of it to stay alive. It is a young staff for the Phils, and one they feel that they can grow with. 4 of their 5 starters 26 years of age or under. Jeremy Hellickson is a veteran on that staff. Again, the 1-2 and the curveball, dribbled foul. Cespedes so far equal to the offerings of Nola and staying alive.
He's done a nice job of keeping the breaking pitch down.
Seventh pitch of the at bat, and Cespedes hammers one foul. Nola's last start was in Washington last Friday. He pitched well, just 1 run in 5 innings, and no decision game for him. In fact, each of his first 2 starts has come against the Nationals. And the Mets will see for the first time tomorrow night.
More strikeouts than innings pitched in his young career so far.
Cespedes pokes one toward the middle. Hernandez on the backhand has no play, and Cespedes has an infield hit. And that'll get Jay Bruce to the plate. This is what he did last night.
I mean, to have your team behind and respond with 2 big home runs to put you ahead and then keep you ahead is pretty impressive.
Each time Bruce hit the home run, it gave the Mets the lead. First time that a Met had done that, twice in the same game in the 6th inning or later. Mike Piazza did it against the Phillies back in 2002. So it doesn't happen often. Jay now has 6 home runs, 3rd in the league with the 14 runs batted in. 5 of those last night. And now a first baseman. Takes a strike.
Well, his last 10 games against the Phillies, 16 for 34 with 6 home runs. So he's beaten up on the Phils.
He's already had 2 multiple home run games against the Phillies this year. It had been 15 years since a player had 2 multiple home run games against the same team before the end of April. 2002, Barry Bonds did it against the Dodgers, and Alex Rodriguez did it against the Mariners when A-Rod was in Texas. Cespedes at first and 2 out.
You know, it's amazing when a hitter's locked in, how different the body language becomes. Remember when Jay was going through his struggles last year, very fidgety, almost didn't look like he had confidence at the plate. 2 things have happened for him. He's become incredibly selective at the plate, and he's not missing the pitch that he gets.
Well, Jay turned 30 on opening day, and life began as a Met for Jay at 30. It's almost as though last year never existed. One-two from Nola, and he got him with a changeup. Side retired. First strikeout for Nola. A hit and 1 left after 1. No score at Citi Field. Gave us an early crack at the G pitch cast.
Well, 3 different pitches. The fastball up and out of the strike zone. The changeup with the bottom fell out, and a perfectly placed curveball on the outside corner.
Maikel Franco leads off in the 2nd inning and takes a fastball for a strike. Franco, the only Philly with any kind of good numbers against Syndergaard, 3 for 9 against Noah. Franco, though, 0 for his last 21, dropping his average to 148. Get a little bloop around to shallow center. Conforto coming on, diving, and he makes the catch. Conforto playing pretty deep against Franco, had a long way to go, and timed the dive perfectly for the first out.
Well, he really made up a lot of time, because his first look at it off the bat, he kind of paused, then had to make up some room. And we've seen him, especially coming in on the baseball, very comfortable with that dive and securing the baseball.
Well, you made the point when you did the defense that Conforto got the call over Granderson in center field tonight, even though Curtis has played there a whole lot more. Younger legs and a fine play there. Aaron Altair hitting 5th in the order, a late addition to the lineup. Michael Saunders was scratched, not feeling well tonight.
Arthritis?
Well, you know, I was going to say, when Randy Johnson used to pitch, they call it the Randy Johnson flu.
Well, Michael Saunders not like that.
I'm sure that's not the
he's
case.
Just feeling sick. But it had to be interesting when Pete McCannon had to go to Aaron Altair and say, hey, Aaron, throw your spikes on. You got the big guy tonight.
And he hits it sharply, and wouldn't you know it, he's got himself a base hit. That's how it always works. The guy who's the late addition to the lineup. So the first base runner for the Phillies, a 1-out single for Altair.
You know, Altair had a nice night in last night's game also. Two-seamer doesn't really run down and in, stayed pretty flat.
So Altair now 3 for 5 in this series. And here is Tommy Joseph, who is struggling, hitting at 159, 1 for 8 in the first 2 games. There goes Altair. The pitch, a strike. Rivera's throw too late, and Altair steals the base, his first of the year.
Well, I was surprised for a couple of reasons that Noah didn't throw over. He got a great jump, Altair, and Rivera with a fine throw on the money, not even close. 2 reasons. 1, you want to throw over there to keep him close. He can steal bases, and 2, you got a new first baseman. He's never seen your throw. Probably want to throw one over there.
So a runner in scoring position with 1 out, a 1-strike count to Joseph, and the fastball just outside. Last year Noah gave up 48 stolen bases and has worked extremely hard to try and quicken his times to the plate, vary his hold times, and make it a little more difficult for the opposition to read him. Had 2 caught stealings in 1 inning against the Marlins 2 starts back.
I mean, the results haven't been too much different, but the Phillies, there was some complacency with their team, with the way their offense went about it last year. This year, you know, last night's game, they had a hit and run. They've stolen some bases. Great situational hitting.
Well, it's not a team that's going to hit a ton of home runs. They've got some power in their lineup. And that fastball on the corner to 100 miles an hour, 1-2. Last year the Phillies scored under 4 runs per game. This year 4.7. They're right in the middle of the pack in the National League. Freddie Galvis on deck. Fastball outside, 2-2.
Wow.
Well, their pitching has struggled so far this year. They're last in the league in ERA, but their offense has certainly been better, at least so far. Two coming to Joseph. He fouls off the slider. Is that the first slider Noah's thrown to?
I believe so, yeah. Just off the end of the bat for Joseph.
Usually doesn't take him 24 pitches to unleash that dastardly slider.
You know, he's just had such great location with his fastball. He hasn't had the need yet.
Well, it's his 4th start of the year, and that steal by Altair was the first stolen base against Noah this year. So that's certainly a step in the right direction. Slapped down to first, past the diving Bruce, and down the line, and that'll bring in the game's first run. Joseph pulls in at second base with an RBI double. So Jay Bruce, in his first game as a Met at first base, tested quickly, and a very difficult ball went down the line for a double, and it's 1-0 Philadelphia.
From up here, I thought the ball was foul. Boy, very close. Very close. You watch the first base umpire backing off to make that call from here. I thought it was foul all the way because of where Bruce was playing, where he dove for it. But a very close call.
And not a reviewable play on a fair foul call in front of the umpire. And Sam Holbrook, who made the call, getting a little heat from the Mets dugout. Here's Freddie Galvis, and that goes to the backstop, and over to third base goes Joseph. So things getting a little sketchy for Syndergaard and Rivera here in the second.
Yeah, that was crossed up there. Watch this ball down the first base line. Watch the umpire vacating, and that ball hits on the outside of that line. It's not where it hits. If it hits foul, it's where it went over the bag, of course. But I think a very difficult play if you're the first base umpire. You're vacating and then trying to call the ball down the line. Very difficult.
So now the Mets have to bring the infield in with a runner at third and 1 out. Wild pitch, moving the runner over as Galvis flails at the changeup, and it's 1-1. So Altair with a base hit, put himself in a scoring position with the steal. Scores on Joseph's RBI double. Now Joseph at third, and Galvis hits one down to first. Short hop nicely by Bruce. Now he has to make the toss, but a little confusion at first base, and that'll bring in Joseph with the second run of the inning. Inexperience on the part of Bruce. He made a nice pickup, did a great job looking the runner back, then forgot about pitching it to the pitcher covering, and it all got messed up at first base.
Well, I think what happened here, the play was beautiful right here to Bruce. But what he does, he tries to lead Syndergaard. What he had to do is that he either had to throw it to Syndergaard or throw it to Walker. And what happens is Syndergaard stops because he thinks Walker is going to take the bag. Walker thinks Syndergaard's going to take it, and neither one did. I can't blame Bruce on that one. That's two players who decided not to make the play or let the other one make the play. And a little late by Syndergaard, too, of going over there. Syndergaard would have kept going. It would have been right there.
I think he was afraid of crashing into Walker because Walker had gotten to the bag. It's going to go as an infield hit for Galvis, and then an error which brings in the run and allows Galvis to go to second, and it's 2-0 Philadelphia. Now here's Andrew Knapp, the switch hitting catcher, and he flies one toward the left field corner. A long run for Cespedes near the wall, and it hops over the fence for a ground rule double. That'll bring in Galvis with the third run of the inning. Andrew Knapp with an opposite field double, and it's 3-0 Philadelphia.
Well, just a running fastball away. Kind of Knapp saws it off to left field, and the ball just kind of got in the jet stream and kept carrying over the head of Cespedes, who was playing very shallow in left field.
So Knapp with his first career run batted in, and it's 3-0 Phillies. And now the pitcher Nola, and he takes a strike. So after the spectacular beginning for Syndergaard, a second inning which has been a nightmare.
Well, part of pitching is feeling your position, and both players were afraid the other one was going to run into the other, so neither one made the play. If Syndergaard kept going, that's his play. The only reason Walker is there at first base because the infield's in. If he's back, he's not even in the vicinity.
Nola just 4 for 57 in his career. But you can't fault Walker because Noah hesitated coming off the mound in the first place.
I totally agree. I think that Walker tried to get there. Bruce made a beautiful play on the short hop. Noah just didn't feel his position as well as he could.
Little dribbler. Rivera out to get it. Throws out Nola for the second out as Knapp goes over to third. And wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know that a lapse like that would happen when you have an inexperienced first baseman?
Of course, and it has nothing to do with Jay Bruce.
Well, 3 runs are in this inning. It could be worse, but for the catch that Michael Conforto made to start the inning that robbed Maikel Franco of a base hit. Altera single, Stoll second, Joseph a double, Galvis the infield hit, Knapp the RBI double. Now Cesar Hernandez with a runner at third and 2 out. And after the most spectacular of first innings for Syndergaard, the second inning has been an entirely different story. Oh, in his first 3 starts gave up a total of 2 earned runs.
Well, Syndergaard's career stats against Philadelphia are almost not human. 4-0 and 1.37 in 4 starts. But so far early, being handed to him.
Two to Hernandez, and he fouls it away. "21 pitches already this inning for Noah. And Hernandez takes a big cut at a fastball, 2-2.
Gary, that first inning, 3 strikeouts. I think it's great things to come, and then as soon as you get Syndergaard in the stretch, it's a little different. Guys running the bases and stealing. And
2-2 to Hernandez. Got him looking, side retired. Hernandez strikes out for the second time. But an ugly inning for Syndergaard and the Mets. The Phillies scored 3, and it could have been a whole lot worse, but for Michael Conforto's beautiful catch, robbing Maikel Franco. 3-0 Phillies. Mets will have to fight out of an early 3-0 hole. Neil Walker leads off the second against Aaron Nola. Well, on the job training for Jay Bruce, who got a little tutorial between innings.
Well, if Terry Collins is criticizing Bruce, which he probably isn't, when he shakes that head there, to me, that's like, hey, there's nothing you could do. You did it exactly how you're supposed to do it. And it was interesting when Syndergaard came in to talk to Neil Walker about it. Neil was like, yeah, you know what, maybe we can talk about it later because I got a hit, bro. You know, I mean,
priorities.
Can't do it right now.
Well, number back to Nola. And Walker retired for the first out. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Jay Bruce, you don't have much experience in the position, and you did most of the play exactly correctly. Maybe a more experienced first baseman would have gotten rid of the ball sooner.
He could have gotten rid of the ball sooner and kind of let Syndergaard run through first base, but that's slim pickings. Really, he did what he was supposed to do only because Noah got off the mound so late, and that changed the whole timing of that play. So it made it difficult.
And made the experience of an inexperienced player more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Bruce, you know, second inning that he's there with the Mets, he's got a ball that goes down the line that's probably foul. That's a double. And then, of course, a play where he's playing in.
Well, they always say the ball will find you.
Oh, it will. It definitely will.
Michael Conforto, making his 5th start of the season, has cooled down a bit after his raging hot beginning. 0 for his last 8. And he pulls that one into the shift. Hernandez playing on the outfield grass. That's the second out.
You know, we mentioned it a little bit in the open, Gary, but that's the one thing the only thing I'm afraid of with Jay Bruce playing first base. Not that he can't do it. He's a natural baseball player. He'll figure it out. But if a mistake happens, does he sit there and think about it? Does he get in his noodle? You don't want any of that stuff to happen because he's locked in hitting.
And I know that was something that was concerning Terry Collins before the game. I mean, he really had no choice tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, Duda is not available. Flores is not available. The only thing he could have done differently is maybe play Kevin Plawecki at first base, but I don't think he wanted to do that. So this was the move.
Well, someone's going to have to be available tomorrow, or they're going to have to make a move because you can't ask Jay to go out there for a week and play the position. I don't think.
It sounds as though the Mets don't have a really firm handle on how long Duda and/or Flores will be out. Duda's got the hyperextended elbow. He's been ruled unavailable tonight. Flores has an infection in his knee. As Reyes fouls it off 1 and 2, and that could be a day, it could be 2, it could be 4, depending on the antibiotics.
I don't know if this is the right way, but watching every team around the league, you know what they're doing with this 10-day disabled list? As soon as you're hurt, you're on.
Yep. Well, it certainly makes it easier to make that move. Not having to wait 15 days, rather only 10 now. Reyes 1 for 7 in this series, and he loops one toward the middle over the glove of Galvis for a base hit. Reyes hit it just tall enough to pick up the Mets' second hit of the night.
Well, good job by Jose here. Gets jammed, but strong enough just to get it over the glove of Galvis, who looks like about a 38, 40-inch vertical jump for Freddie, who's a great athlete.
Needs a little height to go with that vertical leap. It's the Spud Webb leap. So here's Syndergaard hitting 8th in the order. Noah's 2 for 6 to begin the year. We know about his power. 4 career home runs and 107 at bats.
Interesting, though. Usually back to pitcher 8th, if you have an inexperienced or speedy hitter in the 9th hole who can score some runs in front of the RBI guys, but Rivera behind him.
It was interesting the way Terry described it as Noah loses the arm guard. Terry explained it when we were in Miami. He hit Syndergaard 8th in front of Rivera, and he said the issue is if he hits Syndergaard 9th and Rivera gets on, it's hard to bunt Rivera to second. Whereas if Reyes gets on, you're in a bunting situation. It's easier to get the job.
Good call.
Good changeup by Nola. He's had a good one early in this game, and it's 0-2. Of course, the way Renee's been swinging the bat lately,
right.
He's been an offensive weapon.
But with Reyes in front of Syndergaard, it completely stops Reyes from even thinking of stealing a base.
It's hard to do that batting 7th anyway, right?
You just walk the 8th hitter.
Syndergaard lays off that changeup. Now it's 1-2. Of the 3 runs scored against Noah in that second inning, 2 earned, 1 unearned. So after giving up just 2 earned runs total in his first 3 starts, he gives up 2 in that inning. There goes Reyes. The pitch outside. The throw not nearly in time. And Reyes has his first stolen base of the year.
Well, he got such a big jump. Slide to the outside of the bag and make sure you stay on that bag with the Galvis keeping the tag on.
Career stolen base number 489 for Jose as he inches his way toward the 500 stolen base club. He's in scoring position with 2 out, 2-2 to Syndergaard, and if Galvis had been moving toward the bag, Reyes would have been a dead duck. He was moving the wrong way as Nola made that turn, but Galvis stayed put. Second on the active list.
And Rajai Davis still running as well as he did early in his career. I wonder if it has everything to do with being a part-time player, not a guy that played 150 games every year.
Rajai, the only older center fielder than Curtis Granderson this year. That's inside with the changeup, and now a full count. So after Nola got ahead of him 0-2 by using the changeup, Syndergaard seen enough of that pitch to be able to work the count full. Rene Rivera on deck. By the way, that stolen base for Reyes is the first for the Mets since opening day. 2 opening day, none since. 3-2 coming, and that's inside, ball 4. He stayed with the changeup, and he walked Syndergaard. And now the Mets will get the tying run to bat. It's showing a lot of respect.
Yeah, I don't understand the pitch, but pitched him like a hitter.
Well, he hits like a hitter.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not quite a hitter. He's real good. But at this level, if you don't trust the 3-2, you can throw a fastball to the opposing pitcher. It'd be time to look for something else to do.
So now Rivera, who had a pinch hit single or a single off the bench yesterday. And Rene is 6 for 19 to start the year. So he's hitting .316. Normally more of the all or nothing type hitter. Take a big cut, try and hit one over the wall. Reyes at second, Syndergaard at first with 2 out. And there's the big cut. 0-1.
Well, I think Rivera knew after the walk he was going to get a fastball here. I was hoping it was in the zone, but about shoulder high.
'23-year-old Aaron Nola handed the lead and trying to put up a 0 in the bottom of the second. And Rivera fouls off the fastball. 0-2.
Interesting. The catcher Knapp was crossed up there. He's going out there for a breaking pitch, and Nola threw the fastball. Watch the catcher. He's going out there to catch something breaking or a changeup. No way he would have caught that fastball. So 2 cross-ups here in the second inning. One for the Mets and one for the Phillies.
If you're a catcher, you would rather be fooled the other way.
Yeah.
Be looking for the fastball and get the breaking ball.
The other one's going to hit you hard and hurt.
Yeah. And if Rene hadn't fouled that off, nowhere would have hit Andrew Knapp. So again, Nola gets ahead in the count. He was ahead on Syndergaard 0-2 and lost him to a walk. Now he's 0-2 on Rivera. Reyes runs. The breaking ball fouled off. I don't know what Jose is doing there.
Bewilderment for the coaching staff. Some guys don't have any signs. They've got the green light anytime they want to go, but better to let your hitter swing the bat here.
And the curveball looped to the second baseman over Hernandez's head. Reyes will race home with the first Met run. And that cuts the Phillies lead to 3-1. Rene Rivera stays hot. Drives in his first run of the year with a soft single to get the Mets on the board.
Well, Reyes hit just over the head of Galvis, and Rivera hit just over the head. Hernandez, good slider from Aaron Nola, kind of paddles it out to right field and misses it by 6 inches. 2-strike hitting, gotta love it.
Well, Mets had 2 out and nobody on. Reyes with a base hit, a stolen base. Syndergaard walks. Rivera, the number 9 hitter, drives on the run. Now the tying runs aboard for Granderson, who flied out his first time up. And Curtis takes the changeup down for ball 1. Met leadoff hitters as of right now are 5 for 67. That's an .075 average. Be a nice spot for Granderson to improve that mark. And Curtis takes the curveball for a strike, and it's 1-1. 5 for 67.
Aspiring to get to the Mendoza line. Aspiring to. Mendoza line is 200 or better.
In honor of the immortal Mario Mendoza, who became a hitting coach.
It's, of course.
Out of the way.
And almost every hitting coach I've talked to has always said the same thing. If I knew then what I know now, it would have really increased my chances of getting some hits in the day.
We got a lot of hitting coaches who were not great hitters in the big leagues. A few who were, but mostly they were students of hitting because they were trying to figure it out.
Chili Davis in Boston, Kevin Seitzer.
Barry Bonds.
Not this year.
For a year?
No. Yeah, for a year.
Syndergaard at second, Rivera at first with 2 out. Nola again finds himself ahead in the count, as he's been on each of the last 4 hitters. And the curveball hit toward the middle, backing off his Galvis to get it, and he throws out Granderson to end the inning. Mets get a 2-out run, 3-1 Phillies after 2. Picture of the Mets' original broadcasters, Lindsey Nelson, Bob Murphy, and Ralph Connor from left to right. And one of our viewers got the idea that maybe we should update the photo. I don't know what else to say. I will say that Keith looks absolutely perfect in Ralph's red jacket.
Ralph's red jacket. You know Keith has that in his closet somewhere, that red jacket.
I promised you I don't have Murph's striped jacket in my closet. You and Lindsay's checks that or plaids or whatever those are.
We're doing it. All right, we're doing it this year.
I think we've already done it.
Well, follow us on Instagram. You guys know out there. My face looks like I'm taking an actor's picture there. Oh.
Daniel Nava leads off the third inning and takes a curveball for a strike from Syndergaard. Nava struck out his first time up. Syndergaard has struck out 4 over the first 2 innings, but he gave up 3 runs in the second, 2 of them earned. That's got a run back in the bottom of the second, and now Noah back to work against Nava, Herrera, and Franco. You know what that means if you wear Lindsay's jacket. It means in the fall you got to leave on Saturdays to do Notre Dame football.
Oh, well. Oh, man. Game is such a strange game, isn't it? We're talking about a guy who probably has as good a stuff as anyone that is pitching in the major leagues right now, maybe the best. Cruises through the first inning because of a couple of things that happen in the second. Gives up 3 runs like that.
Well, think about it. You have the stolen base. First one he's given up all year. You had Joseph's double, which was probably a foul ball.
Yep.
You had the mess up on the play at first base. And probably, I can't say this for sure, but after that, a little lapse of attention going after the number 8 hitter, and he gave up the double.
Well, remember, a wild pitch because he crossed up the catcher, so that's the attention you're talking about.
1-2 inside, and Nava's hit by the pitch. So Nava is aboard. First batter Syndergaard's hit this year.
Well, that's the second pitch that Syndergaard threw inside. The first one just missed Nava. This one did not.
I don't care what part of your anatomy it hits. 99 can't feel very good.
No, it doesn't.
So a leadoff man aboard for the Phillies, and here's Odubel Herrera, who took a call third strike his first time up. Bluffing a bunt with Reyes playing deep. Ball 1. So still no walks for Noah, but a hit batsman.
Yeah.
It's partner in on-base percentage.
It's not a bad play by Herrera. If Reyes is going to give it to him, take it.
Sure, why not? Reyes a little closer this time, and that should be a double play right at the bag, but it goes right through Cabrera. And the Phillies have runners at first and third. The most routine double play in the world with Asdrubal Cabrera in his sure hands, but not this time.
Well, it's a classic case of he looked up for the bag before he secured the baseball. See where his eyes are. They're not down in his glove to secure that baseball, and that's why the veteran missed it.
That was shocking.
Yeah, you're so used to him making any play that's routine like that.
So the Mets have made 2 infield errors. What was I talking about? How there are fewer plays for infielders now? It's the wrong one so far tonight. First and third and nobody out. Now Franco, who was robbed of a hit on a fine play by Conforto, diving into shallow center field, leading off in the second. That's at the infield back at double play depth. And Franco takes a fastball for a strike.
Biggest 0 for Franco in his career. He had 3 separate times he was 0 for 17, but now 0 for 22.
Nava at third. Herrera, who can steal a base, is on first. And Franco takes the fastball for a strike, and quickly it's 0-2. If you're a strikeout pitcher and you find your way into a situation like this, you would just immediately think strikeout?
I think you would when you've given up 3 runs. I think that once you're 0-2, you're going to do everything you can to get a strikeout here on Franco.
And Rivera with a nice block. 1-2.
I mean, I'm surprised that Herrera hasn't been a little more aggressive at first base. You stay out of the double play. There's a changeup that Syndergaard threw there.
Aaron Altair, the on-deck batter. 1-2. Yanks it foul. Changeup that ran in.
It's like the air's been let out of the balloon here because you're just so not used to seeing Syndergaard under duress early.
Franco smashes one to left. Cespedes back, and it's over his head. Navas scores. Herrera racing to third. He'll be held up there. The throw goes to second. The diving tag by Walker, and Franco arrives safely with an RBI double. And it's now 4-1 Philadelphia. And Franco snaps that 0 for 22 skid with a hard hit 2-base hit.
Well, he's hit some balls hard in this series. Remember, in the first game of the series, he lined out 113 miles an hour to Cespedes in left field. This one carried a little more and over the head of Cespedes. Cespedes almost made the play at second base. First, watch Herrera as a run will score. Of course, he'll go first to third once the ball gets over the head of Cespedes. And watch, almost turns this into an out at second base. Goes right to Walker, who just misses applying the tag. Tried to leap there and make that tag on Franco.
I don't know why he went for the back leg rather than trying to dive for the bag to try and get that front leg.
I think he was lost on where he was.
That's what Bill Bradley said. Sense of where you are. So the error proves costly. Should have been 2 out and nobody on, and that double would have just been a 2-out double, but that's not the way it worked. Now a run is in, second and third, still nobody out. Here's Aaron Altair. Altair had a base hit, stole a base, and scored a run in the second.
See, Walker got turned around, so he kind of dove and was hoping that his glove would be kind of on the base, but it was up the line a little bit. And that's why he missed that tag. It's a tough play, though. Throws to his left.
Rivera blocks that one. 2-0. Tommy Joseph, the on-deck batter. No. Herrera now at third, Franco at second. The infield back, Mets already down by 3. And that'll score another run on the slow ground ball to Walker. In comes Herrera with the second run of the inning. Over to third goes Franco. It's now 5-1. The Phillies have another runner at third with 1 out. It's going to give Altair an RBI.
Another productive out, or productive, sorry, at bat by Altair. Not only gets the run in, but gets the runner over.
And now the Mets will bring their infield in against Tommy Joseph, who skimmed one over the first base bag that was ruled to be a fair ball. Went for an RBI double for the first Phillies run. And Noah starts him off speed, 0-1.
Yeah, it was hard to tell, Gary, whether that was a slider or changeup. I think it was the change.
Joseph fouls it away, and it's 0-2. Another spot where Syndergaard has got to be thinking strikeout. Already down by 4 runs in this game. Key error by the normally sure-handed Cabrera, leading to the 2 runs in this inning. Oh, 2 to Joseph, and he pops him inside. 1-2. Mets have now made 6 errors in this series. 3 on Tuesday tonight, 1 last night, and 2 already tonight. 1-2 coming. Struck him out. Got him with a changeup. And so that pins Franco at third for the moment. 5 strikeouts for Syndergaard, and there are 2 out of the inning.
Well, he really went after Tommy Joseph. There's the grip that we were talking about, that change up, the ball kind of just dangling off his fingertips. Mostly slow stuff there to Joseph to get the strikeout. Slow stuff, relative.
Well, his changeup is the same speed as Nola's fastball.
Right.
Here's Galvis. Galvis hit the roller down to Bruce in the second inning. That led to the mix-up at first base. That brought in a run. Really sent a series of events tumbling down against Syndergaard. Hardly of his own making. And Galvis fouls it away. Well, one of the consequences of all that is that Noah's bearing down on 60 pitches in the third inning. Oh-2. Struck him out with a changeup. Side retired. Back-to-back strikeouts for Syndergaard to finish the third. But the Phillies tack on 2 and lead 5-1 in the third. Just follow SNY on Twitter during the 5th inning of tonight's game for details on how to enter the SNY 5th inning sweepstakes presented by your local Ford dealer. All is calm in her world.
Nice. Clutching Mr. Met.
Got a Mr. Met doll. A little drink. All's good.
I'll call in about 15 minutes.
Someday you'll have bigger problems. As Dribble Cabrera leads off the home third. It has been an ugly night for the Mets so far. A couple of errors leading to 2 unearned runs against Noah Syndergaard. And now the Mets need some offense to fight back as Cabrera fouls off the curveball and it's 0-2.
Well, I think if you're an offense and you're on the bench right now, you just have to say, hey, listen, Nola's got good stuff. He doesn't have anything that is going to blow us away. So just chip away. Play a little better defense. Chip away. Hopefully Noah will figure it out.
Cabrera, Cespedes, and Bruce against Nola, who gave up a run in the second against the lower part of the batting order. 1-2 coming. And the curveball hit toward the middle of the diamond. That's through for a base hit. So Cabrera with a leadoff single, and the Mets have their 4th hit.
Well, Hernandez was playing Cabrera just a little to pull. So even with his quickness and good speed, he wasn't able to get to that ball at the middle.
So now Cespedes, who hit one behind the bag at second, that went for an infield hit his first time up. The Mets are a team that, if they come back in games like this, are likely to do it with the long ball. Aaron Nola is a guy who is not prone to giving up the long ball. Going back to last year, he's now gone 32 straight innings without allowing a home run. And Cespedes went around on the curveball, 0-1.
Well, you're hoping you can get it close and then maybe do some damage out of the bullpen, although Philadelphia's bullpen has been a little better, definitely better in this series, especially the first game. Good slider by Nola.
In fact, in this game with Nola and Syndergaard, you have 2 of the 3 major league starting pitchers who have the longest active streaks of not giving up a home run. Mike Leake is the other one of those 3.
Syndergaard's like over 100, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think it was 103 at bats coming into the night without a home run. And despite his difficult night, that has continued. It's been interesting tonight when Nola has doubled up on pitches. The Mets have reacted well in terms of making their adjustments.
Yeah, it's almost like they're starting to get a better and better gauge as they're seeing the full repertoire of Mr. Nola.
Syndergaard did that against Nola's changeup, and now Cespedes against the curveball, flailing at one, laying off the next one. And that's upstairs, and now Nola behind 3-1 with Bruce waiting on deck. We could be here for a while.
Well, it was only 4 hours in the first game. That's kind of where we're at. No place for me to go there.
There's always time. No clock. Or as Tom Boswell said, time begins on opening day.
Right. You were saying if the Mets would come back in these kind of games, it's usually with the long ball. Let's face it, if they score runs, it's by the long ball. Ahead, behind, dead even.
That's with 24 home runs in their first 15 games. Cespedes and Bruce each with 6. Cabrera at first and nobody out, 3-2, and Struble has to dive back in. Aaron Nola's 3rd start of the year.
Needless throw. Runner can't run. Down 4 runs.
You wouldn't think. Not going. And the curveball hit in the air to deep left field. Back goes Nava to the edge of the track, and he's got it. And Cabrera back to first.
I don't know if it's been about a half dozen of these when it leaves the bat, you think it has a chance, but he's either gotten jammed or just a little off the end of the bat, which happened here on this slider. So not totally locked in yet as Cespedes.
And so Nola's homerless streak continues. 1 out and 1 on. Now Jay Bruce lost a couple of baseballs last night. Time for our Verizon trivia question. In Ronnie's first major league appearance, 3 current Hall of Famers played in the game. Who are they? Well, we know that you faced a couple in the first inning.
Some people might say I should have faced 3 in the first inning, but that's
not the case.
Neither here nor there.
So the question is, who was the 3rd current Hall of Famer who played in that game?
Huh.
And it was against the Phillies.
It's a good question. 1983 Phillies, if that helps you.
Where could have been someone who was playing for the Mets.
I was really only concerned with the first three.
Good changeup by Nola, 2-1 to Bruce. I mean, it said played in the game. It didn't say played for the Phillies.
That's right. See, that's why you went to Columbia.
I don't think that was of any value here. And again, Nola falls behind 3-1, second straight hitter.
And Nola hasn't been able to command really his fastball, and for all young pitchers, that's really where it comes from. Walker on deck is that if you can command that fastball, then the other pitchers become harder for the hitters to lay off.
Neil Walker waiting on deck. Cabrera at first with 1 out, 3-1 to Bruce. And that's inside, ball 4. And the Mets have 2 men on. Second walk given up by Nola. Save 65% on tickets this homestand now through April 27th at Citi Field. Tickets are available at select seating areas on a first-come, first-served basis. While supplies last, to purchase tickets, visit Mets.com/strikeouts.
I mean, Seaver was on that pitching staff, but he didn't play the game.
Unless he relieved, which I don't think he did. Or pinch hit.
Never happened. Pinch run. Never happened.
There's Walker with 2 aboard and 1 out. And Neal takes a fastball, borderline strike. He didn't like that call by Dan Iassogna.
I'd have to say the Mets with Granderson and Walker have 2 of the better citizens. That ball looked like it was outside. Not a lot of arguing, but by either one.
Curve ball, foul down the left field side, and it's 0-2. Neal's still trying to get his season untracked. Especially as a left-hand hitter. He's been much more successful from the right side of the plate. Now the 0-2, and the curveball in the air to center field deep. Back goes Herrera, going back. Warning track at the wall. It's out of here! Neil Walker with a 3-run homer, and the Mets are right back in it. First home run of the year for Walker, and it cuts the Phillies' lead to 5-4.
Well, we saw Neil Walker earlier in this series catch a curveball and almost hit it out of the ballpark in the same position, but Herrera made a great catch. This time he caught all of it on a pitch that was down, almost looked like he was out of the strike zone, and he golfed it out of the ballpark. That ball's down. Good hitting.
Well, he fouled off the curveball on the previous pitch, but again, Nola doubling up, and the Mets looking better on the back end of that double up.
Some kind of power to hit the ball that off the shoe tops over the center field fence.
Bob McClure, the pitching coach, out at the mound talking to Nola, whose homerless streak ends after 32 1/3 innings dating back to last year. An 0-2 curveball, and Walker is his first home run in his 55th at bat of the season.
Contact, though, he gets it right on the sweet part of the bat. Full follow through from Walker. A little dance, why not? Deservedly so.
23 home runs last year for Neal, his first in 2017. And now Michael Conforto. That Mets home run means $2,000, enough for no kid hungry to provide 20,000 meals, courtesy of Citi. Change up in for a strike, 1-1. Conforto grounded out his first time up.
Well, really, that's the strength of the Mets lineup. It's up and down. They have depth, that they have so many hitters that have power and get them back in the game.
For the most part, the Mets have been hitting their home runs with the bases empty. But last night, Bruce, a 2-run homer and a 3-run homer. Now Walker, a 3-run homer. You get some people on base, and the Mets started the night with an on-base percentage under 300 as a team. All of a sudden, those home runs get you some more juice. And now Conforto hits one out to left field. That's going to fall for a base hit. Third hit of the inning for the Mets. Conforto snaps an 0 for 9 stretch, and the Mets get the tying run on base with 1 out.
Fastball in on the hands, but it drifts a little bit back over inner part of the plate. And Conforto's strong enough, and we really like when he's going the other way anyways. It keeps him locked in.
His hands in. Muscled it the other way. Now Jose Reyes, who singled, stole a base, and scored the first Met run in the second inning. And a curveball from Nola in for a strike. So Nola staked to a 4-run lead with this inning began. Leadoff hit by Cabrera, the walk to Bruce. Walker unloads a home run. And now a hit by Conforto, putting the tying run on base. That's golfed in the air to left. Should be easy for Nava. And that's the second out. So 2 away. Now Syndergaard comes to the plate with a man on.
I wonder if after all those changeups in the walk in his last at bat, if Nola will challenge him here with a first pitch fastball. Nola should be ready for it.
He did, but he came up empty, 0-1.
Ran it away just enough.
It's about as hard as Nola's thrown all night. Conforto at first with 2 out. And Syndergaard gets one in the air to center field. And Herrera is over. That retires the side, but the Mets slice a chunk off the deficit. Neil Walker's first home run of the year. It's the curveball out of the ballpark for a 3-run bomb. And it's 5-4 Philadelphia as we go to the 4th at Citi Field. 5-4 as we go to the fourth. Let's go inside baseball with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Well, Gary, a pretty impressive streak came to a close last night as Mookie Betts finally struck out. First time in 129 plate appearances that he had struck out in the regular season. That dates all the way back to September 12th of last year. We thought we'd have a little fun with it, though, and try and bring it to the Mets, see how long their longest streak was last year. Just 32 plate appearances by comparison. That was James Loney. One note, though, Mookie Betts did not catch the longest Met ever to go a certain amount of plate appearances without a strikeout. That was Felix Millan. He went 167 plate appearances without a K in 1974.
And by the way, Mookie Betts made up for the strikeout last night with a 3-run double in the 10th today to lift the Red Sox over the Blue Jays.
Imagine if Felix Millan had used the whole bat. Only used half the bat.
How could you not make contact with as much as Felix choked up?
That's right. It was Francisco Liriano who got the crown by striking out Betts last night.
Syndergaard endured an ugly first 3 innings. He strikes out Andrew Knapp to start the fourth. That's his 7th strikeout and his 3rd in a row. He struck out the first 3, and now he struck out the last 3.
You know, Gary, I learned early in my career that when you're in a game like this where a lot of events have transpired, most of them not good in the game for you as a pitcher, you had to really play psychological games with yourself and just say, hey, listen, I don't care what has happened before. This is just like pitching in a game in the 4th inning with a 1-0 deficit. That's all you should think about. Forget about what happened.
Except your game score might not be so good.
Don't worry about the game score. Get a win. That's the most important thing for your team.
Well, the team's supposed to win. That is the object, right?
Yes.
Nola hits one slowly. Reyes comes in to get it and throws out the pitcher. 2 out. So that's 5 in a row retired by Syndergaard, trying to get back into some kind of a groove. And now we'll go after the top of the batting order and Cesar Hernandez. So we were talking about your debut in 1983, and you haven't gotten the answer to the trivia question yet. But we talked about the fact that Seaver was on those 83 Mets.
Right.
Tom pinch hit more often in his career than you did in yours.
Really? I didn't pinch hit a lot.
You had one at bat. And
that was in the American League.
Really?
Yes. I pinch hit in the American League for the Oakland A's. Todd Stottlemyre was the pitcher. Almost took him deep to left field. He started screaming at me at the plate.
What possible circumstances could there have been?
A bad team. I remember Tony La Russa told me at one point before a game, he said, you know, big fella, you got to take some fly balls. You might have to be the 4th outfielder in this game tonight. And I was like so excited. Oh my God, that's great. And then I thought about it. If I'm the 4th outfielder, we're not very good.
Well, Seaver had 3 plate appearances as a pinch hitter in his career, but not that night. Hernandez strikes out on the changeup, and Syndergaard with a 1-2-3 inning now has 8 strikeouts through 4 innings. So he throws up a 0 after Walker's 3-run homer, and the Mets will go back to work in the bottom of the 4th, down a run. Some trivia question. 3 Hall of Famers played in that game. Joe Morgan, Mike Schmidt, and Tony Perez was on that Phillies team.
He was the cleanup hitter, I think, in that game. That's bad.
Wow. So you were like Carl Hubble in the All-Star game, going through those Hall of Famers.
You know what? I to this day I know that I gave it no thought. I mean, all you're thinking about is your first start and getting out there and doing the best you could. I gave it no thought to those first 4 hitters of the guys I was facing, or I probably wouldn't have went out there.
Of course, the other one was Pete Rose.
That's right.
Who might someday get a pass into the Hall of Fame, but not yet. Rene Rivera had a base hit to drive in the first Met run. Just poked one over the second baseman's head for his first RBI of the season. And the curveball strikes him out. Second strikeout for Nola, 1 down to the 4th.
Let's take a look at the contact and the hits in that last inning. Watch the head of these Mets hitters. It doesn't matter where their body is. It doesn't matter where the pitch is. They're all in different places. Cabrera's right on that one on the outside corner. Of course, golfing that home run is Neil Walker. Head right on it. And finally with Conforto, a ball that's in on him, jamming him, pulling his hands in, but still eyeballs right on the head of that bat.
That is a great collection of images and really gives you an idea of the discipline of a major league hitter. No matter how your body is contorted, your head has to be in the right place.
When you think about it, over the course of the season, if you're an excellent hitter and you get 180 hits, when are you going to be in perfect position? You know, not as often as you think.
Maybe half of them if you're lucky. 2-0 to Granderson, who's 0 for 2 tonight. And Curtis cracks one to deep right field, but it's playable for Altair, and he makes the catch. He didn't get as much of that as I thought.
Yeah, just like the Cespedes ball off the end of the bat.
So Granderson's woes continue. Now 0 for his last 14. And now it's Cabrera. So Nola, after giving up the 3-run homer to Walker in the 3rd, trying to bounce back, looking for his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. Cabrera got the Mets started in that 3rd with a base hit to center field. And he takes one on the inside corner. Fastball strike, 0-2.
You know what's weird about that trivia question is that whenever you're asked about Hall of Famers, I always go back to where you think they were a Hall of Fame player. You know what I mean? Like, I never think of Tony Perez as a Philadelphia Philly. Or Joe Morgan for that part.
It's like you wouldn't think of Tom Seaver with the White Sox.
That's where he won his 300th game.
Yes, it was. 1-2. And Cabrera takes the changeup down, 2-2.
In the Bronx, of all places.
With Carlton Fisk catching. Rounded over the bag. That's a fair ball. It hits off the sidewall. Cabrera will try for second. Altair's got a shot at him, and Cabrera is out easily at second base. Ball took the carom off the sidewall. Cabrera saw it, but figured he'd give it a try with 2 out. But he gets gunned down by Altair to end the inning. Perfect strike to Galvis, who slapped on the tag. Still 5-4 Philly. The Ford Spring Sales Drive event is on. For big savings, go to buyfordnow.com. Noah Syndergaard settled down to retire the side in order in the 4th. Now he faces 2, 3, and 4 in the Phillies batting order, down by a run in the 5th. Daniel Nava was hit by a pitch and scored a run his last time up. And he hits one past Syndergaard and into center field, a base hit. So Nava, first pitch swinging, bangs the fastball back up the middle, and the Phillies have their 6th hit against Syndergaard tonight.
Nava was hit by a pitch in his last at bat, was looking for something in and hard, and got it, and just beat Walker up the middle.
So a leadoff base runner, now Odubel Herrera. Last time up with Nava at first base, Herrera hit a perfect double play ball to Asdrubal Cabrera. It went right through the wickets and opened the door for a 2-run inning for the Phils that right now is the difference in this game. That's in the air to right center, shallow. In comes Granderson at the angle and makes the grab. And back to first goes Nava, 1 away. Well, the Phillies at one time were the masters of this National League East. They won 5 straight division titles, including the 2008 World Series, and they have taken a steady decline since then.
Well, they had the star power. They had Howard and Utley and Rollins in the infield. Cliff Lee, Doc Holliday, I mean, just amazing star power. But, you know, when those players get older, and I think that, you know, this is common knowledge, everyone knows it, but some of the players stayed there a little longer than maybe you wanted them to, and you ended up with some older players and big contracts and weren't able to turn over the roster as quick as you'd like.
One of the biggest dangers, and it's admirable in a way, but one of the biggest dangers for any organization is to build your team with sentiment.
Fall in love with your players.
Right. You love the players who got you to the promised land, so you tend to cut them more slack rather than using a clearer eye. Change up by Syndergaard to get out on Franco.
Let me ask you this, though. It was a unique situation for them. We would go there and we'd always have to give the number. Sellout number, so-and-so in a row. So, you know, you have these great players that people are selling out your stadium. They want to come see those players. They don't want to see the turnover yet.
You know what people want to see?
Yeah.
They want to see you win. That gets away from Rivera, and down to second base goes Nava. So a wild pitch. With the second one charged to Syndergaard tonight.
So those organizations that are able to look at their players as, it's a changeup down, kind of skids on the plate, and Rivera also didn't go down to block the pitch. Those teams that are able to not discard, but to get something for the players they think are getting older and past their prime is the goal. Very hard to do.
You have to take the sentiment out of it. That's really the bottom line. I mean, think about the classic example of the last decade with the St. Louis Cardinals as Franco strikes out. That's 9 now for Syndergaard. I mean, there was no more popular player and no better player in baseball for a decade than Albert Pujols. But when it came time, the Cardinals figured that Pujols was entering the decline of his career and decided to let him walk, and it turned out to be the right decision.
Well, the situation was Pujols is going to get a 10-year contract. They weren't comfortable doing that. Now with Molina, a guy who's a stalwart, one of the great Cardinals, they could live with it because it's a 3-year contract, right? Not a 10-year contract.
Well, I
think the Mets have to be commended too. I mean, to get rid of a Cy Young Award winner, to get 2 players that are on this roster, 2 of the better players, to get rid of a batting title or let him walk as a free agent, those are not easy things to do.
Well, and I think you also have to have enough faith in your farm system to know that if you let veteran players go elsewhere, even players who helped you win, which was certainly the case with the Phillies, that your scouts and your development people are able to get the next generation there, at least a couple every year to keep the line moving, and the Phillies did not allow that to happen. So now they're rebuilding. Altair takes a curveball outside 2-1, and they're in much better shape now than they were a few years ago.
Yeah, and the Phillies got caught in a win now situation too, so they would have to give up some of their good young players to get a Cliff Lee down the stretch, whatever it took.
2-1 to Altair with Nava at second and 2 out. And again in the dirt, but Rivera able to block this one. It's 3-1.
You know, the Mets had to think about that when they acquired Jay Bruce, and down the stretch the last week of the season, you know, he was, you know, what did he have, 2 or 3 home runs that drove in 6 or 7 runs, but maybe you paid for him for this year.
First 3-ball count for Syndergaard tonight. He has yet to walk a batter this season. Behind on Altair, 3-1. And a bouncer for Walker. Nice big hop. Side retired. Syndergaard works around the leadoff hit. He's got 9 strikeouts through 5 innings. But the Mets find themselves down a run, and their big guy will be coming up to lead off at the bottom of the 5th. Cespedes due up. We're halfway through at Citi Field with the Mets down 5-4. Home 5th inning, Mets down 5-4. Yoenis Cespedes leads off against Aaron Nola. Cespedes 1 for 2, an infield hit in the first, a fly ball to left in the third. The Phillies 5 runs, 6 hits. The Mets 4 runs and 7 hits. 2 men errors produced 2 Philadelphia unearned runs against Noah Syndergaard. And Cespedes lays off 2-0. Jay Bruce on deck, then Neil Walker as the Mets send up the heart of the batting order against Nola. Nobody up as yet in the Phillies bullpen. There's some stretching going on.
I think this is their last chance to get Nola. If he gets through this inning, he's not going more than 5 innings.
It's behind the count on Cespedes. And now it's 3-0. Well, we saw Cespedes swing 3-0 last night and get a base hit right before Bruce's go-ahead home run in the 8th.
First 2 pitches, though, not even close. It's hard to get your eye on it.
Taking all the way, and it's outside, ball 4. And the Mets get the tying run aboard. 3rd walk given up by Nola. There's a 4th, 5th inning recap. It's been an action-packed first half of this game. Syndergaard 9 strikeouts, no walks, but 5 runs, 3 of them earned. Neil Walker getting the Mets back in the game with a 3-run homer, his first of the year. Walker on deck. Jay Bruce at the plate. Jay has struck out and walked tonight. And he grounds one down to first. Joseph to second. Franco makes the relay in time with the pitcher covering. That is a 3-5-1 double play. 2 out and nobody on.
Well, the only thing I saw as trouble here is the Joseph's throws a little low, and Galvis when he Franco when he throws it in, does the pitcher Nola get his foot on the bag? I didn't think he had it on the bag, but maybe he did on the front corner.
Like he squeezed the side of the bag. Meanwhile, Cespedes limping as he comes back toward the first base dugout. That's not a good thing. Did not see where that might have happened.
Well, when injuries come to the Mets, they come in a flurry, don't they?
And he heads down the tunnel with the athletic trainer Ray Ramirez right behind him. Now it's Neil Walker, who had a 3-run homer his last time up, his first of the year. Well, you got Duda, Flores, and d'Arnaud all on the active roster. At least Duda and Flores are unavailable tonight. d'Arnaud may or may not be. And now Cespedes limping down the tunnel. The only 2 reserves we know who are fully available for the Mets tonight are Juan Lagares and Kevin Plawecki, who was just called up today. The Mets have to make a couple of player moves. This is Cespedes going to second. Let's watch. Stops and comes up a little lame as he threw on the brakes there.
To me, it's almost like he came out, even when the ball was hit, he came out hobbling, running towards second base. I'm wondering if on some of those balls went over his head in left field, if he might have heard it earlier in the game on the defensive side.
Just saw Terry Collins go down the tunnel. He wants to see what's going on with his star left fielder. Difficult enough to manage with a 2-man bench. Walker takes inside. I was going to say the Mets made several player moves today. They sent both Rafael Montero and Sean Gilmartin down to AAA because they activated both Plawecki and Jeurys Familia, who came off the suspended list.
Terry goes right to the scorecard. That's not good. See if he goes to Granderson and then number 12, Lagares.
Yeah, it's outside, ball 4, and Walker's on. That's 4 walks now for Nola. And again, the Mets have the tying run on base. Well, if Lagares were to come in, Granderson, I guess, would go to right and
Conforto to the left, I would think.
Or maybe the other way around.
Yeah.
Conforto started the game in center field tonight with Granderson and right.
Nola trying to get through this 5th inning on fumes.
92 pitches. Still nobody up in the Phillies bullpen. Conforto had an opposite field single his last time up, 1 for 2. And the first pitch curveball in for a strike. Well, they've got the full shift on against Conforto with Hernandez playing in the triangle.
We've seen both things really for Conforto. When he hit the ball on the ground, he made an out into the shift. When he hit the ball in the air, he hit the left center. So that's why the outfield is pretty straight up. Those are good seats right there.
One from Nola. And the off-speed pitch, shot it out in front, 1-2. Changeup's been his best pitch today.
Yes, it has. Well, he's thrown it 30–35% of the time. Been more accurate with that than his fastball tonight.
That's a pitch he had thrown 8% of the time in his first 2 starts, but it's been a huge weapon for him tonight. Now he's ahead 1-2 on Conforto with Walker at first. And Conforto lifts one along the left field line. And Nava is over. And that retires the side. So Nola gets through 5 with the lead despite a couple of walks in that 5th inning. After 5, Terry Collins needs to make a change. Looks like Cespedes is coming out of the game. Cespedes comes out of the game. Michael Conforto moves to left field. Juan Lagares enters to play center field. Tommy Joseph leads off the 6th inning for the Phillies and fouls back the first pitch fastball from Syndergaard. Joseph drove in the first run of this game with a double over the first base bag in the 2nd inning. Phillies got 3 in the 2nd, 2 in the 3rd. 2 of the 5 runs unearned against Syndergaard, who has struck out 9 tonight through the first 5 innings. An odd night for Noah. Curveball off the plate. He held the swing in time, 1-1. Joseph, then Galvis and Knapp, 6, 7, and 8 in the order for the Phillies, and they've got their bullpen cooking. Nola is done after 5 innings. That's drilled into left field, a base hit for Joseph. Toward the line, Conforto to get it, and Joseph will stop with a leadoff single. 2nd straight inning, the Phillies have had a leadoff hit against Syndergaard. And Joseph's 2nd hit of the night.
Changeup that drifts back over the inside part of the plate, and since it doesn't have a little extra on it, Joseph's able to square it up just enough.
So 7 hits now against Noah. And here's Galvis, who hit the dribbler in the 2nd inning that led to the mix-up at first base. Joely Rodriguez, first man up in the Phillies bullpen. Galvis got credit for an infield hit. Bruce was charged with an error, and it set the wheels in motion on a big inning for the Phils in that 2nd. Syndergaard started to go to the bag, then stopped when he saw Neil Walker there, and Bruce kind of tossed it in between the 2 of them. Fly ball out to center field, and Lagares eases back. The first out. Joseph goes back to first. Let's check in with the studio. Taylor Rooks has a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealers. Carlos Martinez pitching that game for the Cardinals. Had a rough time his last time out of Yankee Stadium, walking 8.
Yes.
And he's given up 3 runs tonight. Now Andrew Knapp, an opposite field double to drive and a run in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th, 1 for 2. Happy to report that Michael Saunders is apparently feeling better. He's out on deck to pinch hit. Saunders was a late scratch from the Phillies lineup tonight because he was not feeling well. Obviously, we'll get a medical report on Yoenis Cespedes as quickly as we can. Cespedes coming out of the game after apparently hurting himself on the bases. Ball and a strike to Knapp. Difficult times for the Mets skipper very early in the season. Dealing with pitchers who have to be taken out and handled with care. Bullpen has been overworked. Now all of a sudden a flurry of medical issues to his position players. I mean, 3 in 1 day with Duda and Darno and Flores, and now Cespedes tonight. The Flores thing was interesting because nobody had heard anything about it. He had been playing in discomfort for a couple of days and then went to the hospital today to get checked out with an infection in his knee, properly diagnosed, and you hope that they can start a course of antibiotics and knock it out quickly, but you never know about those things. Darno and Duda suffering minor on-field injuries. 1-2 to Knapp with Joseph at first and 1 out. It's outside at 98 miles an hour, so Noah's still throwing hard in the 6th inning. Up to 88 pitches on the night. And the trouble hit for Noah in the 2nd and 3rd didn't look like he'd get this far in the game. And he's been able to steady the ship the last 3 innings. 2-2. In the air along the left field line. A little slice away and go foul. Andrew Knapp, 2nd round pick by the Phillies in 2013, coming out of Cal.
Well, I think he and I shouldn't say Cameron Rupp because he had such a good year last year, but holding the place for Jorge Alfaro.
He was off to a great start in AAA for the Phillies.
Slapped down to 3rd, might be 2. Reyes to Walker and on to 1st, not in time. Knapp beat it out. Play slow developing. Mets settle for the 5-4 force on Joseph for the 2nd out.
Well, Reyes got rid of it clean. Walker got a lot on it. Knapp just runs a little better than we thought.
So 2 out, the inning continues, and now Michael Saunders, who started the first 2 games of this series and went 4 for 8 in those 2 games. Well, the word on Yoenis Cespedes is a cramp in his left hamstring. Certainly the best news you could have hoped for. I believe that is the 2nd Mets hamstring cramp of the season, and the first one turned out to be no big deal at all for Matt Harvey.
That's right.
Came back and made his scheduled start and looked good doing it. Matt will pitch again on Saturday. Knocked down by Rivera. The ball and a strike to Saunders.
Sometimes you forget because we've talked about Saunders being kind of a placeholder for these Phillies until they get some of their younger players here, but he had 32 doubles last year, 24 home runs.
He was an all-star last year with the Blue Jays.
And he hooks that one down the right field line toward the corner. Foul.
Dangerous pitch. Shakes. And now finally time asked for.
When you have that many shakes, it's usually the catcher telling you to shake that many times.
Syndergaard has struck out 9 tonight.
Why would he do that? Just to get it in the hitter's head, just to make him think extra long about maybe what you're going to throw. Saunders in his career until he came to Philadelphia played in probably the perfect two places for him. He's from British Columbia in Canada, played in Toronto and Seattle before that.
Again, the 1-2. Top foul. Noah has made very liberal use of his changeup tonight and has thrown very few sliders, and I wonder whether that's at all about the troubles he's had with his finger.
That's a good call, Gary, because the slider is a pitch that you rest that middle finger right on the seam. I've only seen maybe a handful of curves too.
Again, the 1-2 in the dirt. This figures to be the end of the line this sixth inning for Syndergaard, with all the trouble he's had to fight his way through. Trying to finish with a flourish. Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming to the pinch hitter Saunders. Fly ball left center field, deep in the gap. Conforto back near the wall, makes the catch. A Baxter-esque play by Michael Conforto. And that saves Syndergaard's bacon in the sixth inning. Second terrific catch by Conforto tonight. One in center and now one in left. Going right up against the fence. Yes, indeed. Bottom of the sixth. Phillies might have had another run, but for the second outstanding defensive play tonight from Michael Conforto.
Well, Gary, great Baxter reference. Really, that's how you have to make this play. Is you got to give your body up. At some point, you know you're going to crash into the wall. Just try to keep your head steady, make the catch, and hopefully hit that wall with your back to it and not your shoulder.
Worst scouting report of all time. Michael Conforto can't play defense. Worst scouting report ever. Jose Reyes batting against Joely Rodriguez as we start the bottom of the sixth.
After the Harvey one, when it said it was the third or fourth starter, when he made the start in Arizona.
Yeah. Rodriguez's second appearance in the series. Worked a 1-2-3 inning on Tuesday night. And Reyes lofts one out to left. And Daniel Nava comes into play. One out. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Well, Syndergaard will bat for himself. And right now there's nobody throwing in the Mets bullpen.
And there hasn't been.
97 pitches for Noah. Remember, Robert Gazelman last night took the mound for the 8th inning at 98 pitches.
But he only made 1 pitch.
Right. Noah apparently is going to be asked to do more than that in the 7th tonight. I mean, even if he were coming out of the game, he'd still be batting in this spot, because the Mets may only have one more available position player on the bench, and that's Kevin Plawecki. People's United Bank brings you tonight's starters. Syndergaard still has not walked a batter this year. 9 strikeouts tonight, but behind in the game. And Rodriguez takes care of him on 3 pitches, and there are 2 out. Now Rene Rivera, who drove in the first Met run with a single to right in the 2nd, then struck out in the 4th against Nola, who is in line for his 2nd win of the year. The Nationals have gone in front of the Braves 3-2 in the 6th on a Ryan Zimmerman home run. I mean, you can talk about Harper, who's having a great start, Murphy, who's doing his thing, but Ryan Zimmerman may be the most important thing that's happened to the Nationals so far this year.
And they're getting production from Jason Worth also.
Nationals will be here tomorrow night. Mets will play 6 of their next 9 games against Washington. Tomorrow night we're on Pix 11, back with you on Saturday for the 2nd game of the series on SNY. We'll display it to you graphically in just a moment.
That game's at 4:05, by the way, folks.
Yes, it is. And there are your city probables for the series. Jacob deGrom against Tanner Roark tomorrow night. Matt Harvey and Gio Gonzalez Saturday. The Sunday night game, Zach Wheeler against Max Scherzer. And Rivera goes down on the slider. Side retired. 8 pitches, all strikes from Joely Rodriguez to set the Mets down 1-2-3. 5-4 Phillies as we go to the 7th. And here we are in the top of the 7th. Noah Syndergaard still out there pitching. 97 pitches through 6. He's facing Cesar Hernandez for the 4th time. He's already struck out Hernandez 3 times tonight. Gets ahead. Gets even with the changeup 1-1. Hernandez, Nava, and Herrera at the top of the batting order. Mets get the bullpen cranking, but hoping Syndergaard can get them through 7. Noah has thrown as many as 103 pitches this year. His 2 starts back against Miami. 103 over 7. Fernando Salas, the right-hander. Josh Edgen, the left-hander. Flanking Ricky Bonas in the Mets bullpen. 1-2. Hernandez tries to hold the swing and apparently stopped it in time. Chad Whitson with the call down at 3rd. 2-2.
There's a rare slider to there. I thought he could have called it. Looked like a pretty good pitch, but no, he had it right then. Iasonia, the home plate umpire, that was inside.
2-2. Line center field. Lagares is there. 1 out. So 1 hard out. First time Hernandez has made fair ball contact tonight. And now Nava, who has led off 2 innings by getting on base, hit by a pitch in the 3rd, singled in the 5th. 1 for 2 on the night. It is interesting that the night when the Mets are asking a little more of their starter in terms of pitch count is the same night that they have their bullpen closer back.
That's right.
And available. Carved down the left field line, and that'll go foul.
Well, if you think about it, let's do this promo first, Gary. Let's do the promo. Come on.
You're doing a great job producing. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience with the MLB.com and Bat app. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com and Bat today. What should we do next?
I think I'm going to finish my comment.
Okay.
I was talking about the Familia, but you lost 2 relievers. So, you know, you lost the guy to the bullpen.
Montero and Gilmartin both got sent down, but they're more of your, longer guys. So you have these last 3 innings set up. You've got Salas, well, Blevins, probably Reed not available tonight. Right. So maybe that's part of the equation. If Reed were available, maybe Syndergaard doesn't pitch the 7th. 0-2 to Nava. Might have broken his bat there.
Yeah, he'll need some new lumber. There's Jay Reese.
Familia made 2 rehab outings. Both were brief. Both were effective. He was throwing 96-97 with his sinker. And now 2.5 weeks late, ready to begin his season for real following his suspension for inappropriate conduct in an incident on Halloween with his wife in New Jersey. Again, the 0-2. Curveball misses down. 1-2.
You know, I totally can understand how the Mets are trying to be careful with their starting pitchers in April. A lot of guys coming off surgeries, injuries. But, you know, the strength of your team is your starting pitching. And at some point, 110, 115 is going to have to be the new norm for this team over the course of the summer.
And I think that's the intent.
Yeah.
And frankly, this is the one guy who's not coming off surgery, and he should be able to push Noah Syndergaard harder. And I'm really trying to ignore the Camptown Races theme. Lucas is sitting in the clubhouse shaking his head. Do I have to hear that again? 2-2 coming. Struck him out. Number 10 for Noah Syndergaard. The 11th time in his career he has struck out 10 or more in a game.
after a steady diet of curveballs, that grip we talked about with that changeup. With the seams, just dangling off his fingertips. And instead of 100, it's 90, 91.
Second double-digit strikeout game for a Mets starter this year. Remember, DeGrom had 13 in Miami last week. Here's Odubel Herrera, who's 0 for 3. Noah's career high for pitch count is 118. It was last July. He threw 118 pitches in 6 innings in a 6-4 win against the Rockies. 1-1 to Herrera.
Now, this is really where it becomes, even for a great physical specimen like Syndergaard, it becomes a mental game for you as a pitcher. You know, can you suck it up and get that last out?
Fastball for a strike at 99 miles an hour. Well, it's not like he's lacking anything in velocity.
No.
I mean, if his finger's okay, if his arm's okay, this is a big, strong specimen of a man. There's no reason he shouldn't be able to throw 120 if he has to. 1-2 to Herrera. Foul back.
Herrera's angry at himself. He got a pitch to hit and he missed it, albeit 99 miles an hour.
Yeah, that is the caveat. Pitch to hit in quotation marks.
Might only get one all night from Syndergaard. It's the first time that Syndergaard's had to step off because of the time that it takes for Herrera to get in the box.
1-2. Fouled off again. 98 miles an hour. Remember David Letterman's network time wasters? I should have had Herrera on the show.
That's right.
He wastes more time than anybody.
Well, if you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. There's no repercussions for taking your time, despite what Major League Baseball says.
Well, you're not supposed to be able to do it, and apparently Herrera's gotten several letters of warning, but without fines or without having strikes called for not getting in the box, nobody's going to change. And the fines would have to be pretty hefty. That hasn't happened with Herrera or anybody else. Pitch number 114 for Syndergaard. Tapped slowly. Reyes hurries in. Side retired. Syndergaard throws 114 pitches and finishes with a 1-2-3 top of the 7th. Now the Mets will try and score for him down by a run, 7th inning stretch. Jay Bruce is crowning his last night's King of Queens. Hear the discussion about all the week's offbeat moments on SNY.TV's newest podcast, Meet the Mets Cast. Check it out on Mets blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. Top of the batting order for the Mets in the bottom of the 7th. Joely Rodriguez remains in after a 1-2-3 6th and faces Curtis Granderson, who takes inside for ball 1. Curtis 0 for 3 tonight, now 0 for his last 14. Cabrera and Lagares to follow. Lagares in Cespedes' spot. Cespedes came out with a hamstring cramp and a half swing. He went around 1-1.
After that one strike, Franco, the third baseman, moves back 6 or 7 steps.
Would be a good time to lay one down if you're Curtis. Pulls one into the shift. Galvi's playing on the right side. That's a 6-3 putout, 1 away. Mets box score presented by StubHub. Neil Walker with the biggest hit tonight for the Mets, a 3-run homer, his first of the year. That came in the 3rd. As Dribble Cabrera has a couple of hits. Rene Rivera an RBI single. Well, the Mets down a run as they bat in the bottom of the 7th. Who knows? This could be the 7th game in a row that the Mets play decided in the winner's final at bat.
Also, don't let that bench availability fool you.
Yeah. Well, Duda and Flores are not available. Darno might be. There's Cabrera, who has 2 hits tonight, now batting right-handed, and he flies one out to right center. And Herrera comes over to get it, and quickly there are 2 out. Well, last night, Lucas Duda, who played at first base, suffered a hyperextended elbow. Moments later, Travis d'Arnaud had his hand hit the bat of Aaron Altair, and he suffered a bruised wrist. Wilmer Flores with an infection, not pictured, and then tonight Cespedes coming up lame, what they're calling a hamstring cramp. That's 4 in 24 hours. There's Lagares up for the first time, takes a strike. Lagares took over Cespedes' spot in the batting order. Cespedes was 1 for 2 and a walk. Lagares had his first hit of the year in the opening game of the series Tuesday night. And he's been back just for a week after an oblique injury in spring training. Delayed his start to the season. d'Arnaud, who before the game Terry Collins said was available to bat but not to catch, but I don't think we can be 100% certain of that.
Well, bringing up a third catcher says a lot, doesn't it, Milwaukee?
1-1 to Lagares. And he flies one foul, 1-2. Well, tonight's quote of the game presented by Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. It was Johnny Bench who said, a catcher in his body are like an outlaw on his horse. You've got to ride that nag until it drops.
Oh, you got to do that with a southern accent, Gary.
Well, Oklahoma accent.
Oh, Oklahoma, that's right.
Binger, Oklahoma. Tools of ignorance, you know. In the dirt, 2-2. Of course, ignorant would be the antithesis of almost every catcher.
So true.
Usually the smartest guys in the game.
Yep.
Fernando Salas up in the Mets bullpen, getting ready to pitch the 8th. Joely Rodriguez has faced 5 and retired them all. 2 out and nobody on. 2-2 to Lagares. And Juan goes down swinging to end the inning. Quite a relief job by Joely Rodriguez. 2 perfect innings with 3 strikeouts. We're on to the 8th at Citi Field. The Mets down a run. In the division starts tomorrow night. Mets and Nationals, first meeting of the year, Saturday on SNY. Coverage begins at 3:30 tomorrow night on Pix 11. Fernando Salas on for the 8th inning. Maikel Franco greets him with a long drive to left. Conforto back. This one's over his head, and it's out of here. It cleared the orange line, it appeared. Did the umpires call it? They did.
Yes,
the third base umpire, Chad Whitson, was on it. It's a home run for Franco, his 3rd of the year, and the Phillies extend their lead to 6-4. On the first pitch thrown by Fernando Salas, Franco hits one out of the yard.
Yeah, the umpire, Chad Whitson, the young umpire at third base, he had it right off the bat. Just the ball hit right on the nose by Franco. Didn't know if it had enough height, but see how it'll hit over the orange line in the middle of the M&Ms there.
Took out the blue M&M. So Franco, who was in an 0 for 22 skid before a run scoring double in the 3rd, now adds his 3rd home run of the year. And that makes the Mets' task a little bit steeper, as Salas, who was so good for the first couple of weeks of the season, has now hit some rough times. And that's drilled into left field, a base hit for Aaron Altair. So back-to-back base hits against Salas.
Well, does it make sense that this is his 10th game pitched in 16 games, that he was awfully good early and he's been struggling of late? Salas has been overworked. Simple as that.
The game in Miami where he gave up the back-to-back home runs to Yelich and Stanton. Came back in the opening game of this series. Walked a batter, was charged with an unearned run. And now he gives up a leadoff home run and a single to his first 2 batters tonight. Now it's Tommy Joseph, who's 2 for 3 tonight. And that gets Josh Edgin to work in the Mets bullpen.
You get with Salas is that the opposition knows he's going to throw a lot of strikes, so you can be aggressive.
Final line on Noah Syndergaard: 7 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned, no walks, 10 strikeouts, a hit batsman, 2 wild pitches. His ERA goes up to 1.73 through 4 starts.
Interesting, we showed Benoit there getting loose in the bullpen. I wonder if he'll pitch the 8th and they Reese the 9th.
Well, Benoit has been closing for the Phillies, but there's no question that Reese is the most potent arm in that bullpen. The Phillies are also without one of their prime relievers. Pat Neshek is away on paternity leave, which has very special meaning for Pat Neshek and his wife. They lost a baby 5 years ago. Joseph hits a double play ball, but too wide for Walker to get to. Altair will go first to third. The throw by Lagares is offline, gets by Reyes. Salas plays the carom, and into second base goes Joseph. Well, Walker couldn't quite get to that hot shot, and Lagares throwing wide of third base, enabling Joseph to move up to second.
Well, Joseph has been in a miserable slump. 3 hits tonight. This one just by the dive of Walker. And what the Phillies have done a lot this series is pushing the envelope, running the bases as Altair takes the extra base. Salas not backing up. Major faux pas for the Mets. Well, usually we see one on the mark. This one's not even close. Reyes couldn't get over to it, and you got to be backing up. That would have held the runner at first.
So 3 straight hits against Salas. The error on Lagares enables Joseph to take the extra base. Terry Collins comes out of the dugout, and that's going to be all for Salas. So another rough outing for Fernando Salas. He fails to retire a batter, gives up 3 hits. And Josh Edgin will come in to try and bail him out. Mets down 6-4, and the Phillies looking for more in the top of the 8th. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon. Salas out, Edgin in. We'll be right back. Josh Edgin, the most well-rested arm in the Mets bullpen.
That's right, Gary. You're just saying 6 days of rest for Edgin.
Infield in. Freddie Galvis, the batter, hooks one foul over the third base dugout. Everybody's okay. Altair is at third. Joseph at second. Nobody out in the inning. A run home on the Franco home run against Fernando Salas. And now Edgin trying to get the Mets out of this inning without too much more damage. Meanwhile, Maikel Franco, 3 home runs this year, all against the Mets.
Right.
His last 3 home runs last year, all against the Mets. So his last 6 home runs, all against the Mets, against 6 different pitchers.
That's amazing. Wow. And he was 0 for 21 coming into this game.
Galvis pops one up. That might stay in play. Rivera tosses the mask and tracks it to the on-deck circle. And that's the first out of the inning. I always find that dangerous when a catcher gets near that on-deck circle. You got the weight and all that paraphernalia.
That's right.
That he could trip over.
Nicely done by Rivera. There it is. The spray. You've got the pine tar, rosin bag, weight, leaded bat.
The infield stays in. 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. Andrew Knapp, the switch hitting catcher of the batter, turns around about right, and he pops one up. Who's going to get it? In comes Lagares and Conforto makes the catch almost on the infield, and the runners have to hold. That's about as shallow as you will ever see an outfielder catch a fly ball, but with the infield in, Conforto had to get there because I don't know if Cabrera was going to get out far enough.
Well, I think what happened to the infield is they just kind of assumed that the outfielder was going to get to it, but the wind kept blowing it in towards the infield, but Conforto stayed with it. I think the infielders thought that ball was going to be deeper once it was hit, but the wind brought it closer to the plate.
Well, Conforto has caught them everywhere tonight. Diving catch in center field, caught one against the fence in left, and now he catches one almost at shortstop. Now Edgin has gotten 2 pop-ups After coming in with second and third and nobody out, now the infield can play back, and Andres Blanco will be the batter. Blanco, the pinch hitter, had a big hit in the opening game of the series, an RBI double, and he takes the slider for a strike. Well, this would be an enormous boost for the Mets if Edgin can get them through this inning without any further scoring. Blanco's got something in his eye.
Never believe that, Gary.
Andres Blanco, the knob of his bat in full prayer. And quickly edging out in front 0-2.
You know, there was a day where they'd use a Sharpie and put your number on the bottom of the bat. You were left at the mercy on how well the clubhouse guy could write.
Sometimes you get in trouble if your brother writes on your bat.
That's
It was a Ripken story. Here's the 0-2, fouled away. Cal wrote a phrase that we can't repeat on the knob of his brother Billy's bat, and Billy got photographed with that bat on a baseball card, and the baseball card people didn't notice it, and it went into circulation.
That's right.
And it became a collector's item. Edging ahead on Blanco, 0-2. And he struck him out with a slider. What an escape job by Josh Edgin. Came in with second and third and nobody out, and the Phillies do not score further. 6-4 Philadelphia going to the bottom of the 8th. Nationals begin their season series here at Citi Field tomorrow night. Joaquin Benoit in to pitch the bottom of the 8th, facing Jay Bruce. 6-4 Philadelphia. And Bruce flies one down the left field line, and that'll go in the seats foul.
some of the best years Joaquin Benoit had were in Detroit when he used to set up Jose Valverde. Looks like he might be setting up tonight.
For more on the Mets Nationals series, let's go to Steve Gelbs, whose report tonight is brought to you by Volkswagen. Steve?
Well, Gary, you guys were talking about it a little bit earlier. The Bryce Harper start has been fantastic for the Nationals, but a better sign is Ryan Zimmerman homered again tonight. His first 5-home run April since 2009, only hit 15 a season ago. 5 players coming into tonight, though, for the Nationals. Their starting lineup had an average over 300, and Jason Worth was at 289. So that offense is really clicking, and it's going to be getting a big boost this weekend. Trey Turner expected to be activated for the Mets series.
Certainly their lineup has looked incredibly potent. That's hit in the air to left field. Navo is playing deep. Comes in a couple of steps to retire Bruce. Last year the Nats won 95. The Mets won the wild card. And everybody's expecting those two teams to battle for division supremacy again in 2017.
Familia up in the bullpen. Murphy's supposed to be ready for tomorrow, but he was not in the lineup today. A little leg issue.
Here's Walker, who has the biggest hit for the Mets tonight, a 3-run homer back in the third. Of course, the guy we haven't talked about in that Nats lineup is the newcomer, the catalyst at the top of the order, Adam Eaton, who started the night with a .429 on base percentage. It's their major acquisition, and they gave up a lot to get Eaton, and so far he's done exactly what they wanted him to.
Yeah, 2 pitchers, one Lucas Giolito, who was the #1 pick. Who was the other guy? Ronaldo Lopez, I think.
Right.
Both real capable, big upside pitchers. Went to the White Sox for Eaton.
Of course, the biggest issue for the Nats is figuring out who should close games. They began the year with Blake Trinan closing. He's now lost that job. They're talking about splitting it between young Coda Glover, who looks like he's the closer of the future, and Sean Kelly. See what they do tonight. They're up 3-2 in the 8th in Atlanta. 1-1 to Walker. And he's beaten on that fastball inside. It's 1-2.
You know, when I think of the Nats in the offseason, I think about the acquisitions they weren't able to get. They were almost all in on just about every major free agent, including Chapman and Melanson, who was with the ball club last year.
Melanson wound up in San Francisco, and they really did not replace him, hoping to fill that spot from within. Good changeup by Benoit to strike out Walker for the second out. That pitch has been a stock-in-trade for Joaquin Benoit for 17 years in the big league.
He's really a 2-pitch pitcher. He throws that, where he takes a little bit off and runs away from the lefties, and he can still throw 95 miles an hour at 40 years plus. Not even the oldest guy to get a save this year. I think Fernando Rodney and maybe Grilly.
Yep, both are older. Benoit will turn 40 July 26th. The other guys are already 40. Here's Conforto, who's 1 for 3 tonight. And change up to start him off. Well, the Phillies bullpen has taken a major step forward in this series. Edebray Ramos gave up the homer to Bruce last night. There's Travis d'Arnaud with a bat in his hands. But 5 scoreless innings from the Phillies bullpen Tuesday night, and so far 8 up and 8 down for that bullpen tonight. And that's cued down toward third. Franco on the charge, and the throw not in time. We can expect the Phillies to at least look at this replay to see whether they want to challenge.
Well, nice play by Franco to get to it. Does he get enough on the throw? I think Holbrook might have the right call.
Looked like a tie, didn't it?
Yeah. Let's see the right foot of Conforto.
He's safe.
Yep.
Good call.
Good call.
That was hit so strangely.
Right off the end of the bat, so it had tons of spin on it.
So Conforto has his second hit of the night, and that'll get the tying run to bat. With Jose Reyes coming up. That's with their 8th hit of the game. And there's Hector Neris, who has been the setup guy for the Phillies. They've been reluctant to move him to the closer's role, but it looks like that's going to be his role tonight. Reyes is 1 for 3 tonight. Singled, stole a base, and scored the first Met run back in the second. And Reyes goes after the changeup, 0-1. And why, in addition to still being able to throw hard, he's such a smart pitcher. He knew how aggressive Reyes was likely to be and took advantage of that first pitch. Reyes pops one up. And Galvis grabs it. That retires the side. So Benoit adds a scoreless inning to that Philly bullpen work. We go to the ninth. 6-4 Philadelphia. Game since the second inning. And now for the first time this season, Jeurys Familia, who set a Mets single season save record last year, will go to the mound.
Well, 94 saves the last 2 seasons. He's the big man in that bullpen, and in some ways you'd rather him be pitching and a chance for a save, but maybe just get his feet wet in this game.
Suspended for the first 15 games for a domestic violence incident last October, and now ready for his first outing of this season. Cesar Hernandez is 0 for 4 tonight, struck out 3 times and then lined out to center field against Noah Syndergaard. Corners pinch in against Hernandez, and Familia sinks one low for ball 1. Familia last year 51 saves. His walk rate was up significantly from the year before, so he had some longer innings than he did in 2015 when he saved 43 games. In that season in 2015, his whip was exactly 1. Last year it was 1.21, so he had a lot more base runners.
That's high. I think he had a cleaner 2015. Last year he did a good job pitching out of trouble.
What he also had last year was an unbelievable setup man for the full season with Addison Reed.
Well, that's why some people would make the argument that Reed could have had a better year last year, because his year was cleaner than Familia's year, despite the 51 saves.
2-1 to Hernandez. Well, he's come out firing, that's for sure. 97 with good sink. 2-2 to his first hitter.
mean, to be able to throw at 97 with that kind of sink, it's just is what makes him special, unique.
2-2 to Hernandez. He taps one foul. Hernandez, by the way, has never struck out 4 times in a game. He's in danger of his first career golden sombrero tonight. Right after we're done here, Gary Apple, Nelson Figueroa will have WB Mason post-game live.
You know, out of the bullpen in the American League, Zach Britton. He's got the best sinker. In the National League, Mr. Familia.
2-2 in the dirt. And a full count to Hernandez. Nava and Herrera to follow for the Phillies in the ninth. Well, Noah Syndergaard struck out 10 tonight, didn't walk a batter. Now has 30 strikeouts and no walks, which is a modern major league record. Most strikeouts to start a season without a walk. Full comfort though tonight for Noah. 3-2. That's ball 4. And so Hernandez draws a leadoff walk. First walk issued by Met pitchers tonight. Well, Terry Collins wanted to get Familia into this game no matter what. The initial plan a couple of days ago was to try and maybe ease him in the 7th or the 8th inning. But with Addison Reed having pitched last night and off limits for Terry tonight, he was ready to use Familia in his familiar closer's role had the situation come up. But with the Mets down in the 9th, he's out there anyway.
I think with a 2-run lead, if you're Reyes, you got to play even with the bat. You got to take the bunt away from Nava if they're trying to add on a run here. He's back a little too far, I think.
Nava is 1 for 3 tonight. He's also been hit by a pitch. And he does show bunt. One thing we've learned with Reyes since he moved to third base last year, he is much more comfortable playing deep.
Yes, he is. Well, it's interesting. The deeper he gets, the more he approximates his old position at shortstop.
In Milwaukee, Eric Thames just hit another home run. Eighth home run of the year. Gonna send everybody to Korea. Go to Korea, come back, be a star. One and 0 to Nava, and a check swing foul. 1-1. Syndergaard went 7, allowed 5 runs, 3 earned on 7 hits. Fernando Salas faced 3 batters, retired none of them, gave up a home run to Franco. Josh Smoker up in the Mets bullpen, and then Josh Edgin came in, did some marvelous work in that 8th inning. Came in with 2nd and 3rd and nobody out, threw 8 pitches and got through the inning. Now Familia working the 9th, but they don't want him to throw too much, and that's why Smoker is up. That's carved down the left field line, and that's going to fall in. Foul. Just missed being a base hit for Nava. It just sliced away, and Familia able to breathe a little deeper.
Nava's going through some lumber in this series. Nava checked the bat like maybe it's not broken. The bat boy is.
It was.
Yeah, it is.
It was completely cut down the middle after that last pitch.
Looked like Wonder Boy.
I mean, when you were a kid and you only had one bat, maybe you would have gotten out a big roll of tape and tried to fix it.
Tape used to be able to put a screw in it if it wasn't too bad, and then tape on top.
Big leagues, it's not going to fly. I mean, there was a time not all that long ago where it was hard for some of the fringe players to get enough bats. Now nobody really has that issue. 1-2 coming, and Nava bounces that foul.
The only times when I played that those kind of players you know, extra men or whatever would come late in the year and ask you, got to have a couple, because you use the same kind of brand that they did. Size. Used to be most bats were about 34.5 inches, 32 ounces or so. I think that's changed as far as the weight is concerned. A little lighter now.
One-two coming. Struck him out. Fastball away, gets Nava for the first out of the ninth. That's 12 strikeouts for Met pitchers tonight. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Odubel Herrera comes up. Herrera's 0 for 4 tonight. Reached on an error, scored a run in the third.
Surprised Hernandez is not trying to be a little more aggressive at first base.
Hernandez has 2 stolen bases in this series. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night, Game 5 up in Montreal. The entire NFL schedule released very early.
Yeah, right.
And we'll hear from Eli Manning as well. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame. Oh, we weren't supposed to release it quite so early. That skips into Rivera, and it's 2-0. So they're in the bottom of the ninth in Atlanta, and it's Sean Kelly who's on to try to get the save tonight for the Nats. And again, he was supposed to be plan A when they went to spring training this year. They gave it to Trinan instead. Kelly tonight, but I mean, Glover's the guy, right? Eventually, who's going to get the ball. Might depend on how Kelly does tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they'd rather not force feed him it, but sometimes you have to. You know, with Atlanta, Craig Kimbrell years ago said, "Here, kid, go get him." He did.
Familia behind on Herrera, 2-0. They keep stats for all these things now. And the other day, they wrote a story in the Philadelphia paper saying that Odubel Herrera has the most time between pitches of any hitter in the major leagues so far this year. And watching him for a few days, it's hard to argue.
Yeah.
He's ready now. And he flies one foul, 2-1. Orioles won again today. Got a run in the 10th. Beat the Reds. Baltimore now 10-4.
Very interesting. Rivera's doing a lot of talking to Herrera, because Herrera on that 2-0 pitch let out a big yell when he missed and fouled it back. I don't think Rivera appreciated it. Let him know.
Broken back grinder. Bruce handles it. Throw on target, but a little bit high, and so Cabrera has to come down and make the tag on Hernandez for the second out.
For not a lot of experience there, Jay Bruce's hands have been in a really nice place. Now kind of let up on that throw a little bit, and Cabrera did come off the base, so alertly applied the tag.
Don't know if whether with a better throw they could have gotten a double play on Herrera, who gets down the line pretty well. So now 2 out, and here's Franco's at a big night, a double and a home run. He's driven in 2. Snapping an 0 for 22 skid back in the third. Looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth, the Mets will have 8, 9, and 1 in the order. That's the pitcher's spot, then Rivera, then Granderson. Travis d'Arnaud was out on deck to pinch hit in the last inning, so it appears that Travis is available. He and Kevin Plawecki would be the only guys you would expect that would be left and fully available for Terry Collins. Familia behind 2-0 and 3-0. The slider is thrown.
Slider 2-0, almost like not going to take a chance with Franco. We'll push to Altair if we have to.
Josh Smoker's been throwing hard in the bullpen. Not sure how far they'll allow Familia to go in this inning. We'd love to have him available tomorrow night in a more important role. There goes the runner, and the pitch is a strike. The throw, and Herrera is safe at second base. So running on a 3-0 pitch, you don't see that very often. But Herrera has his second stolen base of the year.
Well, you know it's going to be a fastball, but you're counting on the pitcher to really not pay any attention to you at first base because they're so concerned with throwing a strike. And Herrera just gets in there.
So a runner in scoring position with 2 out, 3-1 the count on Franco. And a big cut and a sinker, 3-2. Three-two coming. For the first time. Now the 3-2. And that just missed, ball 4. And now there are 2 men on, so 2 walks in the inning for Familia. And now the question is, how much farther do they go with him? Apparently 1 more batter because Dan Warthen's coming out of the dugout. Smoker's been throwing for a while. He's certainly hot and ready to go. You got a right-hand hitter though coming up in Altair, and so they'll stick with Familia.
Probably thinking that not been a lot of at-bats Altair's had against Familia, so give him a little scouting report. Slow him down a little bit, maybe even tell Familia what he's been doing wrong with the 2 walks.
They're your team. Take them with you. Watch every SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV. Your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Now 2 out and 2 on for Altair, who's 2 for 4 and has driven in a run tonight. And that one misses inside.
Familia's arm angle just a little south of where he usually at, and I think that's why he's losing a little bit of that sink. It's kind of just riding in on the right-hander.
Altair's had a good series, 4 hits and 8 at bats in the 3 games. There's a strike.
With Howie Kendrick out, chance for Altair to get a little more playing time.
Kendrick put on the disabled list right before this series with an abdominal strain. Herrera and Franco the base runners with 2 out. 25th pitch of the inning coming up for Familia. And it's too high, 2-1. Altair tops one up the line, And it'll roll foul.
You know, Gary, the one thing you didn't want happen in this inning is exactly what's happening before the Nationals come to town.
Yeah, I was fairly certain after the walk to Franco that they'd take him out. But he's you know, on the verge of perhaps having a 30-pitch inning. And it's always the fine line the manager's going to walk. You want him to get the work. You don't want him to get too much work.
Yeah, and he hadn't pitched for a couple of days, so that helps. But
2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Altair. And that's below the knees. 3-2.
Altair has shown good plate discipline. Tommy Joseph's had a nice night with 3 hits. For a guy who hasn't played a lot.
Runners get set to take off. Herrera at second, Franco at first. 3-2 to Altair. And he fouls it. And there'll be another.
Altair is one of those great athletes. Can they hit enough?
Again, the 3-2. And again, he fouls it off. So Familia is going to get to the 30-pitch plateau, which he reached only 3 times last year. And here he is going to be throwing 30 or more pitches in his first outing of the season. Not what the Mets had in mind. This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat from Familia to Altair. And he struck him out to end the inning. Went to the slider to get his second strikeout. So 2 walks and 2 strikeouts for Familia in his first inning of the season. Mets come up for their final turn at bat, down 6-4. Mets down 6-4. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
The Conforto Show defensively. Had a couple hits also as Hector Neris in for the save for the Phils.
So Pete Mackanin adjusting the formula and giving Neris a chance for his first save of the year. He has 2 in his career. They both came last year. Travis d'Arnaud, who bruised his wrist last night, up to pinch hit as the Mets come up in the bottom of the 9th. Jerry's familiar, 30 pitches in his first outing of the season. And Neris misses inside, ball 1. Rene Rivera is on deck, and then Curtis Granderson. Mets have had a stretch of 6 consecutive games going back to the 16-inning game a week ago tonight, where the winning team has won it in their final at bat. They will take another one of those tonight.
Really?
Darno fouls it off, and it's 1-2.
You know, Gary, I know a lot of things have changed, but that's one thing I really disagree with. When you're down 2 runs, a 1-0 pitch, out of the strike zone, d'Arnaud offered at it. Still would have put Neris behind the 8 ball with a 2-0 count. You need base runner.
And Travis takes that one down, a splitter. Neris has thrown his splitter more than half the time this season. 52% splitters. I don't think there's been anybody throw the pitch that frequently since Bruce Sutter.
Yeah, I think you're right, but he has great control of it.
2-2. Bounce down to third. Franco gives ground. And the throw is true. 1 out.
You know, I didn't talk about it the last time Neris was on the mound, but in the cold weather, split finger is one of the best pitches to throw, because really there's no, I shouldn't say there isn't any talent in it, but you really just grip it and throw it as hard as you can. Now, after a while, you can develop where you can throw it for a strike like Neris can, but the weather doesn't really affect it.
Here's Rene Rivera, who's 1 for 3, singled in a run back in the 2nd, struck out twice after that. Neris trying to save it for Aaron Nola, who went the first 5, allowed 4 runs and 6 hits. And so far the Philly bullpen has been tremendous. The same Philly bullpen the Mets beat up on last year and beat up in their series in Philadelphia last week. But other than one bobble by Ramos last night, they've been great in this series.
Well, Joely Rodriguez was outstanding for the 6th and 7th. That was the most important for the Phils. Put them in the right place.
You go back to the first game of the series, they threw 5 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit. So it's been a little different result this series. And big cut by Rivera, and it's 1-2. Curtis Granderson on deck. Mets were down 5-1. Neil Walker had a 3-run homer in the 3rd, but the Mets have not scored since. They've had just 2 hits since that 3rd inning. And Rivera tops one foul. Tomorrow night, Jacob deGrom against Tanner Roark in the opening game of the series, the opening salvo in Mets Nationals 2017. What we're calling the collision in the division. 1-2. Check swing, and it's just outside. 2-2. Mets and Nats will play 6 of the next 9 games, 3 in New York, 3 in Washington, starting tomorrow night. Game on Pix 11 tomorrow. Back on SNY for the Saturday 4 o'clock game. 2-2 coming, and that's in the dirt. And Rivera works a full count, trying to get on base any way he can for Curtis Granderson, who is looking for his first home run of the year.
Now, it'll be interesting to see what Neris throws here. His first opportunity is not first opportunity, but as closer this year. 2-run lead, calls for a fastball. Challenge Rivera. He did.
Eighth pitch of the at bat coming, and Rivera tops that one foul. We went right back to the splitter after the first 3-2 fastball.
The reason I say that is because can't beat you. You know, challenge him, make him get a hit to get on base. You hate to throw a split finger and have him take it for a ball.
Bottom of the 9th with a 2-run lead, a walk and a home run are basically the same thing. They both bring the tying run to the plate, which is all that matters.
Yep.
3-2 coming, and a pop-up. Hernandez out, makes the grab, 2 out. And And so the Mets are down to their final out of the night with Curtis Granderson coming up. Curtis is 0 for 4 tonight. Hitless in his last 15 at bats. Curtis takes outside ball 1. If Granderson can keep it going, as Dribble Cabrera would be next. It's very much in need of a bloop and a blast, a walk and a blast, an error and a blast, something and a blast.
Well, the blast has been the key for their offense so far in April, as it was all last season.
1 home run tonight. That's driven to center field, but right at Herrera. It sinks, and he goes down to get it, and that ends the ball game. That's a terrific play by Herrera on a ball that had a lot of topspin on it. He makes the grab, and the Phillies take the series from the Mets 2-1 as they beat the Mets tonight 6-4.
Well, it's a sloppy play by the Mets. A couple of unearned runs. First to catch, it was sinking, and Herrera just caught it before it hit the grass. And the Phillies win 2 out of 3 here against the Mets before they have to face the Nationals coming into town.
Just the 3rd time in the last 18 series between these two teams that the Phillies have taken the series, as they win tonight 6-4. The game summary presented by GMC. Syndergaard, 10 strikeouts, no walks, but 5 runs, 3 of them earned over 7 innings, enough to beat him for the first time this year, as Aaron Nola struggles over 5 innings but gets his 2nd victory of the season. Phillies win at 6-4. Neris gets his first save, and we'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.